Will we see a return of epic-style quests that require time and teamwork?
Absolutely. Again, there'll be fewer quests, but those quests will be bigger, longer, more involved, great storyline, great rewards. What we're going after is quality over quantity.
Do you expect those quests to require groups as well?
Absolutely. This is a grouping game. This is a game about getting together, making new friends, getting together with old friends, and really working together as a team. People, really, it's human nature to assume a role and to work well within a team, whether you're at work or playing soccer or playing an MMO. And that's what's important to us. So these quests will definitely be group-oriented.
Will there be multi-classing, or will each character only have one class? So far, I think I kind of prefer having one class and very defined roles for grouping.
This is something I can't really go into a lot of detail in yet, but in general, it is defined classes, but you will be able to some degree specialize in areas within that class. Again, this is something that we'll talk about more later.
Will the game be more of a sandbox or a theme park?
Those names are certainly bouncing around, and everyone seems to have a different idea of what that means. I guess, from my standpoint, I think first you create a sandbox, and then you create a theme park, or even two theme parks within that sandbox. You've got, an environment that feels real, that isn't where you don't feel like you're on rails, and that's the sandbox part. But then you still have quests and dungeons and treasure that you want to acquire, and so in that sense, it is a theme park. We're entertaining you as you conquer a dungeon or as you defeat a named mob. So that is a theme park, but you shouldn't feel like you're on rails. So it's really a theme park within a sandbox.
The games you've worked on previously gave us a real sense of a world waiting to be discovered. Do you plan to try and recreate that aspect?
Absolutely. Exploration and coming in, discovering new areas with different architecture and cultures and peoples and enemies. That's something I think that's part of being a role-playing game is that exploration, whether you're reading a fantasy novel or playing D&D or playing online with an MMO. So that whole explorer and coming across new areas, especially with our world, will definitely be there.
Can you give us any kind of details or teasers about what Terminus as a world is like?
I can go into a little bit of detail. Terminus is a world that other realities and planets and planes of existence, for some reason, collide with Terminus every once in a while. It's not an everyday thing, but it does happen. And what that does is it brings new people, new cultures, new pantheons of gods, hence the name Pantheon. They come to the world at different times. And so as you go out and explore, there will be all sorts of different types of environments that you'll be adventuring through.
Yeah, I can't imagine all of those cultures and gods are getting along on that planet.
Exactly, and that's where a lot of, as a matter of fact, with our lore, that's where a lot of that conflict comes from, that you can choose to participate in or not. But yeah, it's all these groups coming together. They don't all play well with each other.
EverQuest made me feel a real sense of danger. Do you plan to bring that back too?
Absolutely. I think with reward, there should be risk. When you go into an area, especially maybe for the first time you're learning an area, you don't know what tactics you should use, what spells you should memorize, how you should equip yourself with your items. There's danger there, and you're going to feel a little bit, you're going to be cautious and go in there and try to survive. Maybe you don't, maybe you have to come back, but that feeling of danger, or at least apprehension, and then excitement after that, is definitely what we're going for.
What IP will you be using? Is this a reimagining of EverQuest Classic, a Vanguard Reborn, or an entirely new IP?
It's an entirely new IP. It's a new world. It's a new universe. It's still high fantasy, so there'll be parallels to other games that we've worked on, but it is in and of itself its own identity, its own IP.
Do you think we'll see big open zones like there is in EverQuest and Vanguard? I think these small zones that have mobs just packed in way too tight are annoying, and I think they actually impede social interaction because there's no free moments to even stop and chat.
I totally agree with your concerns. The zones in Pantheon will be large. There'll be outdoor zones that go on for a long period of time. Mob, or NPC encampments will not be all scrunched together. The same with dungeons. Dungeons will be deep, large. There's a lot of exploration there, but the population will be spread out in a way that there's definitely time to stop, regroup, talk with your friends, decide what the plan is going forward, and then meet the enemy after that.
Will Pantheon be primarily focused on PvP or PvE?
Definitely PvE. That's the type of game we're making. We have nothing against PvP. If the game is really successful and we can move into that area, I'd like to see PvP done, but it's important to us that it would be done right, that it just wouldn't be just band-aided into the game. We would want to probably post-launch, do it right, have a battlegrounds or have a server that's just devoted to that PvP. Make sure that our game mechanics, that our PvE game mechanics are not the same as the PvP, so we can balance one without messing up another. There's a lot of things you really got to get right. So, maybe post-launch, maybe we'll see how things go. We would like to head in that direction, but initially, and our focus is going to be on making it a fantastic PvE world.
If you could only pick one emotion that you wanted the game to evoke, what would it be?
The feeling of epic adventure.
Will there be factions in this game?
Yeah, absolutely. And we might try a few different things with it, but it'll overall be a traditional faction system based on different races, different people groups, different cultures, whether they like each other or don't like each other, and you will have the ability to your actions will affect your faction standing negatively or positively depending on what you're doing and what type of mob you might be fighting against. So no big surprises there, but a nice robust faction system.
As a corollary to that, will there be faction grinds?
I'll take the opportunity to talk about grinding in general. Grinding to me is any time the player has to do something that's simple and repetitive, just over and over again. It's tedious. We're going to do our best, and we think it's our responsibility as game developers to eliminate grinding as much as possible in any area, including faction grinding. When you're going out there and you're adventuring for experience, or maybe to accomplish certain achievements, or to change your faction standing, all of those should be playing the game and having fun. I've said it before. The path of least resistance should also be the path that's the most fun. It's easier said than done. Some players will choose, the quickest way to change their faction. We need to identify that, watch that, and make sure that there's gameplay and fun associated with it.
If you had to describe the genre of the game in one sentence, what would it be?
Planar high fantasy.
Will there be contested content?
There will be some. We're making a world where a lot of the world is open, where players can go wherever they want. We'll have some parts of the world that are instance, where we want to guide players through more of a storyline. But in those open areas, undoubtedly, no matter how we set up the content in the world, more than one person may want a certain item or to defeat a certain boss mob or do an achievement at the same time. What we need to do is make a world that's large enough, that's varied enough, that this doesn't happen a lot, and when it does happen, it's people can reconcile and maybe they have to wait and be a little bit patient. But what we don't want is fighting and infighting and frustration. So that's really just about making sure there's enough content on a server for a certain number of players. You don't cram a bunch of people in and make an overcrowded world.